Hi, welcome back to another episode of Digital Transformation Bytes. Today I'm joined by Lauren Brown, who's MD or a Managing Director at T10 Automotive. Welcome, Lauren.
Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. No, so I've been looking forward to this. We've obviously worked together for quite some time, so it's good to have a good chat. So today, we're going to talk around digital transformation in training, education, and those sorts of areas. But yeah, to start off with, Lauren, give us a bit of an introduction to T10
Yeah,
and a
sure.
bit of introduction to yourself as well, and what you do and what T10 do.
Perfect. So, T10 is an automotive training provider. We actually started off in what we call the manufacturer world. So, we were working directly with companies that design and build vehicles from the ground up. Now, we've very much shifted over time into what we now call the aftermarket. So, everything that happens after a car has left the factory. That includes independent garages, service repair businesses, and people basically that keep all of our cars on the road and keep them safe today.
Yeah.
My background is absolutely not automotive at all. I'm really open about that with everyone. Useless. If ever your car's broken, please don't ask me for any advice. I will not be able to help. But what I've got kind of experience in my background is very people focused roles all the time, operational. I worked in HR, recruitment. I worked for a utilities company for a while. And yeah, basically just have a really well-rounded understanding now. So T10 actually just turned 10, so we were 10 last week, which is
Yeah, I've
exciting.
seen
So
on
I've been here
LinkedIn, I've seen
for
all the pictures and the videos. Very good.
yeah. So I joined when we were almost one, so we were just before we were one, so kind of have seen everything. So now I've kind of got that lived in experience of what it takes to run a business. And I can really appreciate and understand where the aftermarket businesses that we work with a lot are. So those kind of service repair centres, independent garages, I feel the same things as them, like cash flow management, people management, all the growth pains that we all go through. And ultimately, we're all just wanting to like future proof where we are as a business and make sure that we can keep it moving. Um, yeah, so for me, automotive is where we are as an industry. I'm not automotive at all, but really passionate about the people that are there and the businesses that are there, and just making sure that we can give automotive as much as we can and make sure that it continues to thrive, because actually it's a really great industry to be part of, and it is really fast paced and moving at speed, it feels at the moment. So yeah, really proud of where we are.
Yeah, that's good, and I think it is. I think it's a great industry. I think it's an industry, as you know, I work with as well, both with companies like yours and at the manufacturing stage. Both in the UK and abroad, and it is a great industry. And the other thing that has changed recently, you've just opened a new facility as well, haven't you? Is
We
is is
have,
that
yeah.
that's what's happening. So again, it's exciting. I know 10 years old is great, and that's a
Yeah,
great milestone because so many smaller businesses and
yeah.
like you said, who go through challenges don't always quite reach that. So 10 years, but yeah, you've opened a new training facility as well, if I remember
Yeah.
rightly.
So we are referring to it as a campus because we want it to be known as kind of that place
Course,
where,
education, yeah.
yeah, where people come to do their best and they're really invested in what they're doing. So to kind of have that university feel, I guess, is the right way to frame it. But we don't want this to be seen as kind of like a transactional, you come in for a day and you have some training and then you leave. We want people to feel that when they come in, they're really part of something and their journey's clear ahead. So, their growth really is defined by how much they want to pour in as well. I know we have got a campus now. I'm hoping that we're going to actually be expanding and having a bigger space soon. Because I've realised
Mm.
it's actually not big enough for what we probably want to be able to do and achieve. So, like many things, you think that it's absolutely great. You get something in there. It's like a house, isn't it? You look around as bare bones and the four
Yeah,
walls. The minute you put furniture in, you think, God, it's actually not as big as I thought it was. So
yeah.
yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So yeah, follow along for that because I'm sure we will be on the move before the end of the year, I think.
That's great to hear. That's good. That's encouraging. I think that's I like the confidence and again it just shows the business is and I think education skills gap something I think we should get into today because I think that's a big area. I think it's not just an automotive thing. I think it's anything industrial at the moment. So we'll talk about it. But one question I ask everyone coming away from T10 is what does digital transformation So digital transformation is the subject. Digital transformations, where I specialize. But I think it means something to everyone, and I think it means different things to different businesses. So what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to T10?
So when I first started seeing this phrase, digital transformation, I kept seeing it everywhere. And the industry that I'm in, I kept seeing big companies and corporations throwing this like pledge around to do better with digital transformation. And I was looking at this and thinking, see, like it's got momentum, this, like what does this really truly mean? And at the time, genuinely was a bit like not really too sure. It sounded a bit like jargon to me. So the way that it kind of sits with me now is that we right now in this moment are living through history, and this is a moment in time where our children's children will be learning about and referring back to, because we went through the Industrial Revolution, and I remember learning about that at school. And I think the thing that makes this different and more exciting now is the Industrial Revolution evolved over decades, right? So it took a really long time, and the washing machine was invented, and you probably found at the time that people were thinking, oh, I wish that my washing machine could do this. I wish it could spin faster, or whichever. I wish my fridge could be bigger. I wish my oven could cook quicker, whatever it may have been. And now we live in a time where technology is transforming at such a rapid rate. So we don't have the luxury of people being able to think, I wish AI could produce this for me, because it already does. The minute you think about it, it's already in motion. And that's what's so exciting, is that this is absolutely evolving at such a rapid rate that people are struggling to keep up with it. So when people look back and they see things and they learn about this period of time, they're going to be well versed in AI and electrification, connectivity, automation, all of that stuff. And they're going to look back and think, so these guys knew a time before that, and they didn't have AI and they didn't have prompts, and they couldn't just type something in and have like a full essay created for them. What do you mean they lived in that era? But we did, and it's really hard to adapt and think we have absolutely everything at the touch of a button. But for me, it's about making sure that anything that we get digitally now, we're still able to humanize and make it make sense. So it's very easy to just absolutely, say, I want to go for this and I want to do this and create me this document and give me this training as a training provider. And we could get reams and reams, and we could get so much content. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't make it make sense in a real world all the time. So we're living through the moment right now where we're having to humanize a lot of stuff that's coming through. But I think it's really exciting. I mean, when I first learned what AI was, it was my brother, actually. We were all out for dinner, and he'd said to me and my dad is the founder of T10, are you guys using this? And I said, no, I don't know what this is. It was a chat GPT. And I said, I don't know what that is. And he said, you're already behind. You need to get with the program. And he said to my dad, oh yeah, I made this image. And basically it was a Land Rover in a snowy scene with a cottage. And my dad said, that's a stunning photo. How have you made that? And he said, well, just, use this app and it does it for you. And both of us, it was like, I felt like I was living in like grandparents' shoes at the time. Like, these youngsters showing me stuff. And I'm thinking, God, I need to really catch up, because I felt decades behind. But it didn't take long to really get with what was going on and understand how to use these tools effectively. But yeah, digital transformation for me is something that I'm really fortunate. I think that we should all feel really fortunate to live through this time where we know the world before and we know the world now after, because it's changed forever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the acceleration over probably the last 5 years has been massive. Chat GPT has helped move the market on so much on the AI side of things. But I think you make a very good point on all digital transformation in industry. And there are great use cases, and you do see some good use cases, but human in the loop to make it realistic, to make it practical to what you're actually applying yourself to is huge. So, are you seeing that in your industry? Are you seeing where the skills gap's been created, and there is a well publicized skills gap in the automotive industry, which is good for your business. But I
Yeah,
suppose it's using those digital services to plug the gap. But if you're using digital services, it's still having the expertise and the human, like you
exactly.
said, you could create reams and reams of training, but if it's not applicable in the real world, and it's not applicable when someone comes out of the training environment and goes into the
Yeah.
work environment. So are you seeing that?
I could talk on the skills gap for like days and weeks, because I think that the
Mhm.
problem we have in automotive at the moment is there's a generational barrier, and it's those who feel that, automotive is spanners and screws and oil and all of that, and then you have the next generation who are seeing automotive for what it will be. So spanners
Yeah,
and screws are always going to be there. There's always going to be an element of that. But it's now actually making sure people understand when they come into the industry, you do need to be able to work a computer. You do need to be able to understand what data is giving you. Because cars have changed, and the systems that are now within a car is, a computer-based system that absolutely can give you the data of what you do day to day. So whether you just do a school run, or whether you go into the city every day, or whatever it may be, we've never really had the opportunity to have data available like that. But I think the thing that's missing with the skills gap is actually business owners understanding the importance of cybersecurity training and things like that, because it's so important. As a garage owner, I think cybersecurity training should be one of the most important things that people have this year.
yeah,
You've got so much data available to you now, from where you can work out where somebody probably lives if they haven't already given it to you on the job form, where they go every day, and what you then do with that information. And making sure that your technicians aren't put in a compromised position of knowing something that potentially they shouldn't, or they then follow through with. You have to be so careful, but it's overlooked at the moment. But our skills gap for sure is around ADAS, so that's all around the advanced driver systems. Then we've got an EV gap. The more EVs that are coming into the market, we need to make sure people are trained, but also actually trained safely and with integrity. So they're not just trained and given, a crash course in EV awareness, because we see this, and we've actually been into businesses before where we've sat around the table and we've said, so has anyone done any EV training? Oh yeah, we've all got our level 2. Brilliant. Okay, how would you feel about now going and having to be around a vehicle? No, I wouldn't be confident to do it at all.
yeah,
Because they have the knowledge that they were shared, but they haven't been given the confidence and the competence to then be able to actually go and inspect a vehicle. So absolutely, when you get to the realms of like level 3 and level 4, where they're having to then power down, that's
yeah.
scary stuff, when you think people are working with such high volts and they're not being given
Yeah.
training that actually, lose my voice, that actually then fits what they need to do. So for me, it all comes down to integrity. And I think if we're going to solve any problems that we've got in the market, we need to make sure that the training is done in a really safe and controlled way. Which comes on a little bit to some stuff that we've done with AR, which I won't jump too far ahead. But we have done training via AR, and we wouldn't have committed any EV training into that for the reason that we cannot be completely safe. So there are definitely complexities around things that we need to be aware of, but I think the skills gap as a whole is going in a positive direction because people are realizing. But I think for business owners, it's actually just training in advance of when they're told they have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it's a big issue. It's a big issue for sure.
Some interesting. There's a good points there. Like I said, I think we'll come back to the training and following things for EV, because obviously working in digital processes is what I see our customers using Workflow Plus for. Maybe not quite training, but
Yeah,
they're using it to follow processes. But data was the first one, and it's the car has changed dramatically. And one of the ones put a post on LinkedIn months and months and months ago about Tesla. So Tesla itself has self-drive. Self-drive is driven by cameras, but those cameras are on pretty much all the time. So what it's doing is it's collecting the data around it, the environment, where you go, how you go there. And Tesla use that data. They pull that data in all the time. So, you think about then Tesla's connected to companies like Grok, so XAI, who run the Grok model and things like that for AI. It's interesting because they do pull all those photographs in, all that imagery in, all that information comes in, and then obviously they use that data as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, just from a local point of view, then you think all that data is being created. Now that'd be pulled in centrally, but there's so much data then on top of the cameras as well. It's the onboard computer, where you go, where your house is, where your consistent journeys are. All that data is available in these cars. In my car, I've got a BMW. It pulls all that data in. I'll sit down in my car now, and it will give me a predicted journey,
yeah,
as in it works by what time I do it, when I do it, how I do it. And my car's got cameras on as well, so it will pick up the information around it. And
yeah,
that's a really interesting point. And to be honest, it's something I probably didn't think about, which is, yeah, I get there's companies like Tesla, they're going to sit there in the cloud, their cars are going to pull the data in, it's going to go back to the cloud, and they'll use that data. And I'm sure when you sign for a Tesla, you
yeah,
probably sign over that right,
yeah,
as in, well, we are going to pull data, we are going to pull that information in. However, information must get saved locally in the car, as we know.
yeah,
And again, I suppose that's a big challenge for garages going forward, and whether it's independent or some of the larger chains as well. That
yeah,
yeah, you've got to think about data and cybersecurity as well as you know how the brake pads work, how
for sure.
the tires work, how to change a clutch. That's a really interesting point. I like that point. That's got me thinking.
Yeah,
The
it's
other
massive. It is massive because I think the main thing when you think about cybersecurity is you automatically think, oh, it's all related to my laptop or my cloud, whatever it is I'm using. You do not think of a technician in a garage plugging your car in. It's the last thing that you think, but they're so well connected now, cars. As you've just said, they can literally tell you, are you going home now, Brad?
yeah,
Yes, plug in, you're 7 minutes. They're so clever with what they have. So yeah, connected systems are linked to software that people can get into and find out a lot of information about you. And you need to make sure that the people that are operating those systems are aware of the implications of the data that they have available to them.
yeah, it's 100%, 100%. It's crazy. And ain't only an industry. There's lots of industries at the moment where I think people download apps, and I've done another one on Pokemon Go and things like that. It collects everything. Your phone's picking up everything, anything with cameras, anything with information. So it is a big part of it. And I suppose you don't always think when I drop my car off, I don't think, well, this person knows exactly where I travel, when I travel. If you run the data, the metadata from the GPS tracker off the car, it would pick it up all straight away.
Yeah.
So coming through to the, like you were saying, is that next stage of processes. So where I work in education and training a lot with companies is building digital processes for like the longer term kind of thing. So do you see that as a long term solution where it is interesting that point you made, which is you've done it, you've passed it, great, in an educational environment, right? Are you confident enough to now go into the real world and actually do it? Well, actually, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
So where I see a lot of work at the moment is building digital processes which have digital instructions, which use photographs, videos, and things like that to help people achieve each step, with a lot of risk aversion and a lot of health and safety warnings as well for things like that. Do you see that as the short term to medium term development of these roles as people come out of education to then use things like digital processes, where you're thinking about the operator maybe using an AR, as you said, maybe using a tablet to understand exactly what they should be, given an example of what they should be doing, and then doing it in a way that the company can collect the information. And I mean, like, if it takes 4 hours to really do it properly and to do it
Yeah.
safely, and then you've got operators taking 2 hours to do it, do you see that as kind of the next stage?
I think with anything with training, it's all about the person, isn't it, that's receiving the information.
Yeah,
So we will find that processes absolutely work for some people. You will find that processes, they're super important and they need to be in for everyone's job role, I think. But you will find that some people absolutely find that digital process potentially overwhelming, and as an additional thing in their day, and think, oh God, I haven't taken a photo of this and I haven't logged that I've arrived and I then need to do that. And it can set their day up on the wrong foot. So I think if you're putting a process into a business, it's showing the employees what positive impact that process gives them, not just about throwing a process in and saying, I now want you all to do this. You need to back it up with a reason why we're doing this, and we're following this process because we want to show our customer X, or because we want to give you confidence in your job and we want to show you how far you've achieved, you know, what job rate you're working at. So we use Workflow Plus, as you know, and the pushback from my trainers initially was, oh, right, okay, you're checking up on me, was the vibe that they gave me. So we implemented it because we wanted to have that kind of auditable trace within the business, so that if a customer said to me, Lauren, you've done training for us, because we go all over the UK, I can't obviously be everywhere. And if they turn around to me and they say, Lauren, they didn't turn up, they didn't go to training today, and I say, what? Of course they did. Like, they told me they were there, and that's their word versus what the client is saying. And you think, I actually need this so much more robust. And I see process now in the way that we do this in the training sphere is the process actually protects them, and the process protects my business, but the process also protects the integrity of the overall product of what we're doing. So it's a no-brainer for me that we do process certain things. I've just had one of the girls in my office come back from maternity leave, and things have changed massively since she's come back. Not in a way that's, you know, we do things absolutely upside down, but we do so much more now. So the processes have changed and we do things differently, and we want to keep record of what's going on. And for her, it's like, oh gosh, okay, need to be completely reintegrated back into what my job is, because it doesn't look the same as it did a year ago. And that's ever changing and ever evolving. So yeah, for me, process for a new starter is really important for anyone that's coming into any industry, be it banking, automotive, hospitality, medical, whatever it may be. If you have a clear process in place for somebody to be able to follow, but you tell them why there's that process, that's when you then can, you know, really lock in. But I think if you just have a process that your team don't buy into and don't understand, the process is probably going to have holes in it, because people aren't going to adopt it and take it on.
Yeah, it's interesting, and again, I think that's where digital becomes such a great tool as well, because it's easily changed, because it's digital, because there's cloud, and because people are running devices. I think feedback, one of the things I've constantly seen in a lot of industries now is team members, employees, or candidates or students, is feedback at the end of processes, because processes used to be created, downloaded from somewhere, printed off, and then they'd be given to someone, and it was very hard to change it. Where obviously now with feedback and that, and kind of like that STEM or lean approach to things, you can quickly evolve the process to maybe fit individuals, fit the team, or fit the wider business. But yeah, I think that's again, digital working. Digital working is something that does need explaining to people, and it isn't about checking up on people. But like you said, it's about evidential data. You know, what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, from a customer point of view. You know, administration should be a thing of the past of these sorts of things as well. So not many people do like going out and doing work and then having to come back, remember it and type it up. There's so many different areas it can be used in. But again, I think, like I said before, of AI and those sort of things, all technology just needs to be grounded with people, let people get involved in it, and they do generally see the longer term benefits. But with digital and like digital training and digital, how have you seen it impact the business or the industry overall over the last few years with digital coming in, you know, in terms of safety, I suppose downtime should be reduced, speed and competency? How has that affected the market, or how affected T10?
So T10 predominantly is a face-to-face training provider still. And to be completely honest, like I said at the beginning, I'm not a technical expert in any way. All of my team are probably panicking when they see this podcast title go out and think, what on earth are you doing? Did you talk about cars? Please don't. I once stood up in front of a group of people in Southampton and said that a brake caliper was just this wheel screw, guys. So, you know, when you learn about wheel screws, that's what it is. And they all literally like, shut up. But I think one thing that we can like really confidently say with this topic specifically is COVID accelerated T10's journey digitally for sure. So we were completely reliant on face-to-face. We didn't do anything online. I had dreams of us becoming an online training provider, but we didn't have kind of a road how to get there and how to do it. So when COVID happened, it kind of changed our dreams into an optional hope to an essential, if you want to earn money, you need to get on board and do this right now. And I think it was you, Brad, actually, that had said to me years later, as we'd gone in and got these AR headsets to be able to continue to train. Lauren, you have an AR headset, is like having a mobile phone with no apps on it. So if you don't have the apps on it, it's not actually used. And I remember you saying that to me and being like, God, yeah, like here she is learning again. But it's one of those things that for me, there's so much more to unlock with training than it just being put onto Teams or made into a video or put into kind of even a workflow. There's so much more that I think we haven't even touched on yet when it comes to training. So we've just launched a brand new business, T10 Performance. So T10 Performance is born in automotive, but absolutely it's for all industries. And what we want T10 Performance to be able to do is allow people to understand themselves as a person. So to complete what we call a character DNA, which is completely online. So it's completely digital. That report will then come back to that person and it will speak to them about who they are, what they are, and how they function and how they work and how they show up to work every day, which we then want to be able to grow into something called T10 Arena, which is also coming. And T10 Arena will be that arena of space where you can go and you can unlock training online. So it's what I'm going to refer to as our evergreen business. So throughout COVID, I remember sitting on many like webinars and things about how people could continue to train and continue to, deliver certain things throughout COVID. And a lot of it was just as you and I are now, join Google or join Teams, or at the time it was Zoom, wasn't it? Everyone was on Zoom and everyone was saying, sorry, you're on mute. And, they were training in that way. Whereas what we want to be able to do is have it completely self-managed so that you can actually take yourself out of this kind of, one-to-one feeling, and you can actually step into like an immersive training area where you go on and you learn and you watch videos, and then actually you can come into this area and you can then ask your tutor and you can say, hey Brad, can you actually tell me a little bit more about this, because I'm not really following what that section meant. So that's what's coming with us at T10. So we're fully like adopting and we're going into it, but I don't want to do it as everybody else is doing it, where it's just a tick box, watch a video or multiple choice. It's got to have a bit more integrity to it. And I want the end result for anyone that's been on a T10 learning and training experience to actually feel that they've got skills for tomorrow, not just for like right now, because we can all go and watch something. We could go onto YouTube right now and we could find out how to lay bricks, right? That doesn't mean we're actually going to be any good at doing it.
No, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Based on my DIY when I've watched their YouTube videos, I'd agree with that 100%. I think it's interesting. Like I said, first off, it sounds very exciting times for T10. I think it's great to see the business pushing forward. I know how passionate you are about it. I know how passionate your dad was about it as well, and the rest of the family that's involved. So that's great, and I'm really excited to go on that journey with you with Interware. But I suppose it comes back to what we said at the beginning when we were talking about AI, and we talked about that, and we talked about human in the loop. I think that's the most important thing. I think there's a lot of value for doing things in person at times. You definitely need experience and that tutor. People digest things very differently as well. Education, I've always said, is an objective view. Standard school education, it's one size fits all, but people learn at different paces, people learn in different ways. Some people have got challenges, some people don't have challenges, so it becomes a very, very difficult to get through school, I think, for some people, for some kids, because it is kind of a very straight line. But digital, like we said, digital with the right practicality and the right human interaction, you can start adjusting things very, very quickly to fit business needs.
Exactly.
And then, if you've got a good customer who's got a team of 50 and they send everyone in for education, you may find you need to adapt things for 10% of that team. And that's what I was saying, like with the flows and processes, And then you saying again, well, we've got the online part, but then there's an interaction with tutors, there's an interaction with people. Yeah, that's so important, because people do consume information, consume things very differently. And there is a big part of, like you said then, which is it's not just about consuming something and then being thrown into the deep end. It's how do you create that journey? And journey, I'm such a big believer in confidence. If you see
Yeah,
something, you train on something, and you look at something, it doesn't have to be a manual task. It could be when you start a new job, when you
yeah,
understand a technology or a software, or anything it could be. How you apply yourself is based on confidence, and confidence comes from your induction at a business, or the training they send you on, or the education they give you. And that's what makes you a better individual and better at your role longer term. And I think education is an ongoing thing. I don't, again, lots of different things. Education is an ongoing thing, because, like you said, the industry and how things are applying to any industry at the moment are moving so quick. So
yeah.
that's cool. But you've mentioned AR a few times now. So if I remember rightly, you had some realware devices. Again, is that something you've seen moving into the industry more? You know, are they enhancing processes? Are they enhancing training and education in the way that I suppose students, both new and I
Yeah,
suppose people being re-educated as well? Because, like you
yeah.
said, the industry moved on. Do you see that as a big application going into the industry?
I think so. I think it was really funny actually. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Chichester College, my local college down here, and
Hmm.
I go into this classroom. They've got this amazing new STEM building, and it is absolutely amazing what they've done there. They've got a
Yeah.
full automotive section downstairs. The ability to let people weld remotely, which I think is just crazy. They're letting these students play around with carbon fiber to create, spoilers and bump. It's a fantastic, thriving learning hub, and it was really exciting. So I go up into one of the classrooms, and they're doing a demonstration on a RealWear headset. And
Okay.
I put this RealWear headset on, and lo and behold, there is one of my previous trainers, who's a good friend of mine now, delivering this mini training video that actually we created together for Auto Mechanica, a trade show that we did a couple of years ago. And I put this, and it was really weird because I put this headset on, and you volunteered to demonstrate. I said, okay, I'll do it, in the group that I was in. And I put this headset on, and I go, oh my God, I know him. Oh my God, that's my company banner back there. And actually, I helped make this video. And I think that just shows that there's not too much of it about at the moment, that they're obviously recycling and reusing our
Yeah.
information. And don't get me wrong, this wasn't groundbreaking stuff. Even at the time then, we were showing basics of, I think it was an electric, we were showing basics of electrics. It wasn't in depth or anything, but that's important, because I think if we can use AR as kind of a way for people to have an introduction to some things initially, it can actually remove a lot of, it potentially can move a lot of curiosity, where someone's thinking, do I want to be a mechanic? Do I want to come into the industry? Do I want to play around with a car? I don't know. And actually we can give a kind of a stepping stone into what it might be like. So I spoke briefly earlier about we use them. So we actually used them during COVID. So we trained Jaguar Land Rover's technicians in Malta using AR headsets, and we were able to guide them through a level 3, what they call a learner journey. And it was amazing, and it allowed them to continue learning through the most extreme of disruption any of us have ever known. The only thing that we didn't do is we didn't deliver the EV part of their learning journey. It was considered to be too high risk because of the milliseconds of delay that there may be between a tutor and the learner over the waves. The waves, not the right way to say it, but yeah, we deemed it to not be safe enough. So it wouldn't have been responsible for us to do EV training in that way, so we didn't do it. But that Malta project really kind of shaped for me that kind of philosophy of anything's possible, and that even the world's craziest pandemic that's tried to put brakes on every single country and continent can't stop us training and being there physically for somebody. So my trainer at the time, I remember thinking, this is a lot to ask somebody to do. And I'm asking him here to step into a virtual world. He's only ever trained in person and
Yeah.
being on somebody's shoulder and being able to guide a technician and say, right, don't cut the red one, cut the blue one, or turn
Yeah.
that another 90 degrees, whatever it may have been. And I'm asking him here to continue to do the job that he does remotely. His eyes are on the screen only, and he was just amazing. He stepped up to the challenge, and typical of Lee, he was like, yeah, no job's too big. So Lee Cowley, shout out to him, great person. But yeah, he just completely stepped up, and I just remember thinking the future is crazy. Even back then, to think we have just trained somebody through their level 3 learner journey that would normally take us, months and months to do throughout, plane tickets back and forth to market, them then being able to apply. Lee is probably there in his pajama bottoms at home in Basingstoke, training the technician in Malta and giving skills, and it was a huge success. And it's probably one of the moments in my career at T10 that I'm most proud of being a part of something. I had no part to play in it when you actually look into the whole thing, no part to play in it at all, but the stuff that went on there was just amazing. It was just a real shame not to talk about politics, because that's a very grey subject for everyone, but that we had just left Brexit as well, to try and import these headsets into Malta with Brexit how it was, that was the hardest part. So you think, yeah, that was the hardest part of everything, trying to transport these headsets in, then try and get the bill paid, which basically ended up being almost as much as the headset was just to get it to Malta, then to pay it to come back again. And I remember thinking, my goodness, this is really hard just to send these headsets out. And the trainer has gone and done this like phenomenal job of training this person, and they've got all of these skills now. And my biggest hurdle is post. But it was, AR was a massive part of T10's whole journey, really. And I think had we have not had it, we'd probably have had to close the door, because we wouldn't have been able to continue to operate in that time without it. But had never thought of it as it being a blank phone until you'd mentioned that to me. It's just a headset with nothing on it. It's crazy to think what you can do with things when you actually are given the right tools to be able to implement them.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we see. And like you said, it's I suppose that's the progressive things. You picked up some good points then, I think, which are real applicable, not just to the COVID era, but after. And like traveling, and those sorts of things. It's amazing what you can do digitally when you need to. I suppose not just in the training world, but if it was not training and it was doing processes. And when you get juniors who go into the real world, they always have a senior member of team, and then naturally you've been trained, and a bit like when you pass your test to drive, they always say you really learn how to drive once you've passed your test and you're out in the real world and you're using your car. It's the same for a lot of work as well, because some assets that you repair, some assets you fix, you don't repair every single day. Some you do repair every single day, others you might not see for 6 months. So again, customers use that into the real world as well, where they can use remote assistance and remote expert systems then to support them, mark up the screen, take control of the cameras, and really help people, which again saves people flying, saves people driving, saves people doing all these things. So it's great to hear that you had that. I think the COVID era did force people, like you said, almost force people to accelerate digital journeys, and we all became familiar with things that,
I don't think without it we'd have ever done it. We work with, so LKQ are one of our biggest customers now in the aftermarket. And they work with another company, our Virtual Academy, who provide virtual training. And it was first week of January, and we're sat in their head office and we're going through our standardization day. And Ben, the owner of our Virtual Academy, he pulls out these MetaQuest headsets. And he says to everyone, right, you guys can all have a go now. We can simulate real world, a real world garage. And they've got an LKQ Academy that's built there. And, some of my guys have put these headsets on. My thing that comes down to it is this is so close to the reality, but it's still not quite the reality. So you miss things like weight and dexterity and the physical feel. that no simulation's ever going to be able to fully replace it. And I don't think that it actually should. But what I think is so important for any learner now is that they're given these incredible immersive tools that are then able to build familiarity, give them the confidence, which we spoke about a minute ago with that competence again, to be able to make a decision before they enter a real live environment. So you'd like to think that people might be able to have like a basics of electrics or something, and they can have a simulated version. And we were speaking to Ben about, you know, in a real world, you'd be electrocuted. But you can make these controllers buzz at you. For a learner, that's so invaluable, because there's no electrocution that has to happen, or electric shock, you know.
That's always a benefit.
Yeah. Oh, must remember not to do that one. And I think that the way our industry is moving forward and progressing, and companies like Ben and, you know, LKQ Academy that are really pushing this whole like digital transformation forward with these tools that they're putting in place, for anyone that's thinking about joining automotive, or anyone that's, you know, thinking of starting a career anywhere with tools like this available, what an exciting time. Because I don't think that there has ever been a time in history before where you can be in a simulated real world scenario safely without actually having to commit anything either. You're just trying. And I think that's so important to, you know, for kids of today, for learners of today, whoever it might be. I remember when I left school and was thinking about going to college, and, you know, some of my mates were like, oh yeah, you know, I've said I'm going to do building, or I'm going to do, I don't know, mechanics, whatever it might have been, and you're then stuck. So your trial period is a 2-year college qualification that you have to see through, and if you don't, you have to wait to the following September to try again. And I think what a privileged time we all now live in, to be able to see a real world simulator without actually having to make any commitments. So no, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because, you know, like I said, what I see in other industries and what we're helping customers with now is exactly that. And where we kind of sit is that middle stage, which on the education side, I know obviously customers go on to use it for operating procedures and lots of other things in industry. But that VR, there's 3 steps, isn't it? Like you said, VR, which then can help teach you. Then there's how do you start, how do you get on the real world, and then you're fully qualified and you go on and work. What we see a lot of digital processes being used for now is that next stage after VR, which is almost broken it down into steps, and then using videos and images. But like what you said, don't cut the red wire, cut the blue wire. And it reminds them, mainly because, you know, if you've learned 50 steps in VR and then you go and actually do it on an electric car or any sort of car, then using digital steps to remind people, and then eventually they do remember and they do the video, and please don't do this, okay, please don't do that, okay. So that constant reminder. And I think digital processes have become a very good way of applying that real world trip from the classroom, from VR into the real world. And it's not just AR. They obviously do, a lot of people do it on mobiles and tablets and even desktop as well, and manufacturing and things like that as well. And then they still do the processes when they've qualified and they're fully live and they're fully trusted. But the difference being is they may not watch the videos, they may not watch every step, and then their speed picks up as well, which again, like you said before, because you get that proof of who does what, when, where, and when, you can see that coming through. So it is an interesting journey. Now, we've talked about all the positives, and we have looked at all the positives, and it's never that easy. I wish it was, because I would be doing far better in life, because everyone would have adapted to digital transformation straight away. What do you think of the challenges? What do you think the challenges are for the industry? You said before that, you know, COVID brought a acceleration, but I don't think everyone's gone from completely analog, completely basic into full digital. What do you think the challenges are to getting that next stage and that ongoing progression in the industry to digital working?
I think, just to go back on a point as well, I think that I don't know if you've ever heard of the competency model before.
Not enough to comment on it.
It's like you have 2 things. So you can be, not 2 things, you can be unconsciously incompetent. So you don't know about something and you'd have no idea how to do it. Like I would absolutely be completely unconsciously incompetent, no idea what it means, no idea what it is about going and building a house, right? But then if I wanted to go and become a house builder, I would then become consciously incompetent. So I now know I want to do it, but I'm not able to go and do it unless I adopt into training. I then go through a training, syllabus or course, and then I basically get to the stage where I'm then consciously competent. I'm having to think about what I'm doing because I still, my skills aren't flowing easily. And then eventually I get to the stage where I'm unconsciously competent. And I don't even think about what I'm doing. It's autopilot all the time. And that's what we want to be able to enable people to do with digitalization, is you want people to think automatically, just going to log into this, just going to go to here. So I think for how do we help people overcome any challenges that they have with adopting a digital transformation part of their business, is the resistance is always going to be there, I think, with anything, because it's change and you've got the change curve, and you think about, you're here and you think, okay, I've got this great idea. Oh my God, it's changed everything. It's made it really, really bad. And now I don't know why we did it. And I wish we could just go back, but we're too far down the curve to now change, to actually it's okay. And we've adopted change and I can see the benefit of it and it's all okay again until the next one comes. But I think, like anything, nobody adopts anything instantly and has a great time with it and finds it easy. And I think that we often all prioritize the momentum of things and the perfection of it before we actually think about the benefits that it's going to pump back out and the learnings along the way. And the learnings along the way for most things are so much more important than the bigger picture often, because the things that we find out when we do adopt something is our process didn't work here, or actually we don't have enough team to support us in this area, or it may be that we should really be focusing a little bit more on the output in this area. That's all from growth, and that's all from that change evolving, and we wouldn't know about this had we have never adopted. So for me, I think it's always going to be something people are going to resist against because it's a change. And with all changes, you have some people who love change and some people who hate change. Most people say they love change, but actually also hate change. So it's going through that change curve, which is tough for everyone. It's tough for business, it's tough for the people, it's tough for all of us, but it's about getting through it and having that aligned vision to be able to change with reason, not just change for the sake of change's sake. So adopting a new process, what's the benefit of it? If you can sell the benefit of it and live the dream, then go for it.
Do you think that becomes part of the syllabus in the future, or soon? I agree with you. We were talking about school and industrial revolutions and that before. I'm a firm believer that everything's important, but AI is something that people should be educated on, and digital working at school, and the reality of, I suppose, what the world will need and want over the next 5-10 years as technologies continue to accelerate. Do you think in something like T10's environment, when you look at re-education, is part of the syllabus one day getting people to accept digital ways of working and teaching them about digital working? Because I think it becomes a big part of what staff need. Like you said, what does someone younger coming out of college expect? Do they expect clipboards, or do they expect tablets? Do they expect torches in their hand and doing this, or do they expect an AR device? Do they expect to watch secondhand videos of someone's got their head in the engine, where if you put a big TV behind the teacher could teach it live quite easily using an AR device like a RealWear, because they can use the camera, they can show it behind it and talk. Do you think just digital working becomes part of the syllabus going forward?
Absolutely. And I think the main thing is, when somebody starts with any training session that we do like a gives, a gets, and a ground rules, right? So what are you giving today, Brad, to bring your experience to the front? What is it you want to get out of today? Here's what I'm giving you, so here's what you're going to get. Here's the ground rules of how we're going to get there together. So we're going to go through a journey. We're going to make sure that we understand the role fully, which will involve understanding the processes, and it will understand what platforms or tools that we have to use for it. But I think the main thing for T10, and I can only really speak for us, is that our role is to help people feel confident through all change that they're going to go through within work. So every person that steps into a training room is committing to make a change. They're all committing to put a bit of disruption into their life, because they're going to now have some new skills that they're going to be consciously competent about by the end, which means that they're going to have to really use some integrity to focus in every time, to drill into these skills to make sure that they repeat and reuse. But I think the other thing is to understand, when you come into a training room and you've got a tutor or a trainer at the front of the classroom, is really normalizing the fact that it's a safe space to ask a question. No question is stupid. Every question, the quiet guy next to you might also be thinking, but not brave enough to put his hand up and ask. So anything pops into your head. I'm a big fan of like verbal diarrhea, and just say, if you think it, just ask it, because no question's stupid. And also normalize the fact that no one person's got all the right answers. So that tutor, we don't ever want to have what we refer to as like a sage on the stage. Like, look at me, I'm really great. This is what I know. I am the guru of engines. We don't have anyone like that that works at T10, but we don't want that kind of that feeling with anyone. And it's actually making sure that all learners that arrive in a classroom are part of that evolution. For everybody, there's growth, so they know that the tutor can absolutely support them and give them, you know, a safe way forward and give them some support. But it's for people that are coming on that course to really unlock what it is they need, why they need it, and how it's going to adapt and work for them, and just, you know, go on that journey together and unlock the skills that they want to find. So it's a little bit different with technical training, obviously, because it is don't cut the red one, it's cut the blue one. Like I just said, there's not really one to choose from, so you do have to follow the rule. But it's understanding that in that technical arena that there may be a way to do things differently still, and that's okay, and that's what training's for. It's about making mistakes, and it's about exploring, and it's about using all tools available, be it a digital tool or a physical tool, to be able to make that journey embed, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. And again, it comes back to that confidence thing, and I think that's important. I do agree with what you said as well. There's no such thing as stupid. There's sometimes stupid answers. Don't get me wrong, but there's no such thing as stupid questions.
Yeah.
And people should ask questions in that environment. And again, yeah, that's why I asked, because just some people adapting to tablet use instead of pen and paper, just gives them confidence when it's away from the working environment. Then the technical skills come with it, and all those sorts of things. So. No, it is interesting. It is interesting, and I think that's the big challenge. I think when we talk about the skills gap, and then we talk about the aging workforce as well. You can't have one half doing digital and the other half maybe not doing digital, because then you don't get the application as a business, which is, I know how long it takes. I know what the consistency is. I know how often it breaks. I know there's no predictive maintenance. There's no analytics to be driven from that.
Yeah.
So. It's two different challenges for two different kinds of people. You want the new people to come in and learn their confidence around their trade, where maybe sometimes the aging workforce, it's maybe those digital tools and how they can make their life easier and better, not just becoming, like you said, a new challenge that someone maybe doesn't want. So look, just to kind of finish off, if business is looking to introduce things like digital transformation and digital working in your industry, what sort of advice would you give them? Because obviously you've been through it, you had it accelerated on you, as like we said, with COVID.
Yeah.
But what sort of advice would you give?
I think the main thing to think about with anything digital at the moment is we're living through a period of time where, as we said at the beginning, the digital revolution that we're on, we're all here for the first time, right? So we're all just finding out about these things together and collectively. But I think the other thing, that anyone that's running a business that's thinking about a digital change, think about your demographic within your team. So what is your generational issues that you may have? So that's a huge factor. And I was on a conference where I heard that 30% of the workforce at the moment is Gen Z. And when you think of Gen Z, you probably think of people that potentially are still at school or college, and you think we're going through such a change in pace that any business owner that's adopting change when it comes to digital, keep the mentality that you want to bring people into your team that are better than you. And that's not from an ego point of view. Bring people in who are better than you, that understand things better than you, that can make today's problems make sense. So bring somebody in that understands social media. Bring somebody in that understands what trends are available at the moment. If you're holding stock, how's the quickest way to get rid of stock? If you're, sharing skills, what's the best way to share skills? So that might be a digital consumption where people want to be able to have bite-sized learning, or it might be that they want to do face-to-face, but understand who your audience are and how digital can really help you land that. I think it's probably the way to put it. Does that make any sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. I think, like I said, if you're looking to change with digital and the technology you can use, and you bring in, new people, the business should always be evolving. Business should always be evolving in the way you offer services, the way you engage, and social. You mentioned. You think how many businesses were engaging with social 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Not many.
I
Think how much time spent on LinkedIn, people spend it on Facebook. The evolving different apps that you can use now to communicate as well with what was Twitter X and Instagram, TikTok, and all those sorts of things. And again, there's a generation of people that just never would have done that. And I'm lucky. I've always worked in digital. I worked in document scanning originally, and then I worked in things like e-discovery and digital forensics, digital ways of working, and coming to this industry. So it's just been, it moves and evolves. So you always meet someone who knows something different to you.
Absolutely.
And that's like a egotistical thing for a business. A business should be applying itself in multiple areas. Not everyone will work, like you said as well, which I think is good. You can't set out and say, I'm going to try 5 things and expect all 5 of them to be very, 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 very successful.
Yeah.
But if you try 5 new things and 3 things are successful and the business evolves and moves forward, that's great. No, so I think that's good advice. It does make sense, and it is good advice. Okay, Lauren. Well, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything and gone through. So, thank you very much. And if anyone's watched this and wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you, Lauren?
So you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn, or you can get in touch with me. You can leave my details below if you want, Brad, as well, with my email address. That's fine.
Excellent. Yeah, and then check out T10 on LinkedIn as well, because there is some good stuff happening there as well. Yeah, so look, thank you very much for joining me. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
I have.
And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.